I recorded the episode 7 of Persona 5 Royal. When I went to check it, there was no audio. Didn't want to lose the hour of footage, so I'm gonna voice it over for this episode. We start off episode 7 by hitting up the diner with Ryuji, getting in some studying time, because I completely forgot in all the time that we spent away from this game that we had exams coming up. However, something else happened during exam week was there was an announcement posted on the bulletin boards. Turns out that we have an assembly coming up, which I think is crazy. I think a big assembly at a school where something like the whole Kamishita incident happened is just far too much for these students. So hopefully it's something good. Anyways, we kick off the exam week with a bang. We get our questions right. Had an essay question on the first day. And like, I've played this game a lot, so I'm pretty familiar with the answers. So it takes us through the 12th and the 13th. And then on the 13th, we finally have our assembly, where we meet Dr. Takato Maruki. And like, I'm familiar with the character, I don't want to spoil him. But as he gets on stage, he already has some adoring fans. And in the midst of all this, he introduces himself, almost gives himself a concussion. You know, big himbo energy, I think, for him. We debate with Ryuji and An whether it's even worth it to go. Then he happens to catch us. Seems that happens a lot to our characters, where it's just kind of like, yeah, you know, we kind of stick out like sore thumbs. He bribes us with snacks. I'm not one to say no to snacks, but I also think therapy is necessary, you know, like a fundamental good. And as I said on stream, you can't hear it, but we make a deal with him, which unlocks the counselor persona. Now, he's pretty big. Like, he gives us some, like, really good bonuses as we advance his confidant. An is the first to visit him, actually. So we decide to, I mean, she sells him after the fact, but Morgana is also like, yeah, you know, you gotta make sure you don't stick out, especially with all the things going on surrounding Kamishita and Shujin and all that stuff, and how we're under the close eye of some students and staff. We see a familiar face when we go to see Dr. Maruki and Yoshizawa-san, which is always fun. And yeah, we go there for a therapy session, but it turns out he doesn't have ulterior motives, but he's like, hey, I'm actually kind of doing research on the side. Would love to have your help, which I don't know how ethical that is. I don't work in the psychological field, but he says basically it's a project that looks at people's metaphorical hearts and how they can, how he might be able to heal that stuff. So yeah, he wants us to help us out with his research. We agree, a little reluctantly, I'll add, but that brings us up to rank 2 with him. 2 ranks in the same day. And then later on, the next day, An happens to notice something where she notices someone following her. We have a little cutscene here, and it does turn out that there is someone following her. And like Yusuke, I think, or okay, well, I just blew it. But anyway, here he is. Yusuke, I think, is a bit of an interesting character. Like, and then we also meet his sensei, Madarame. Just pulls right up. But Yusuke's like, I need you to be my next model for my art piece. or model for my next art piece. An's pretty thrown about it, and it's just like, there's no, hey, you want to go out? The cat is also pretty annoyed by this. Um, Ryuji pins it as a scheme, which it could be. I mean, I wouldn't blame him for thinking that. Yusuke's pretty headstrong on doing this, but he introduces himself, and he says that he's Madarame Sensei's pupil, and An actually notices something, that we heard the name Madarame the last time we were in Mementos. We learn that he's having an exhibition of his artwork very soon. We get some tickets for it. Yusuke, of course, is like, here you go, An. And then he looks at Ren and Ryuji and is like, you guys can come too. But An brings it up later when we're talking about Madarame, where she's like, you know, we heard that name, and it definitely makes me curious as well. So Sunday arrives, it's pretty rainy. We end up going to that exhibit, and Yusuke's enthralled that she comes. And then he takes like one look at us, and he's just like, you brought the men. Which is, you know, I mean, hey, whatever. So he shows An around, and Ryuji and Ren go snooping. We happen to catch up with Madarame. However, while we're snooping, we get rushed by huge crowd of fans. Morgana almost gets crushed to death, which is quite something in the bag. But An and Yusuke end up taking in a lot of the artwork together. An is pretty appreciative of art, we come to find out. And then she spots this painting right here, and she notes that she senses a strong frustration from it, which is very interesting as a comment. And her comment happens to strike something in Yusuke, and he kind of changes the subject. He's like, there's more pieces than this one, so how about we take this somewhere else? Then later on, Ryuji remembers something while we're at the new hideout about a post online that he saw. It says, a master of the Japanese arts is plagiarizing his pupil's work. Only his public's face is shown on TV. His treatment of the pupils who live with him is awful, and he teaches nothing and bosses them around. He treats them inhumanely, as if disciplining a dog. So Ryuji's like, how about we go tomorrow to his house? And while on the train there, the following day, we get spotted. And we have to sort of commodify Morgana a little bit. This little girl thinks he's a toy. I mean, we convince her, but yeah. And then after she's like, again, we butt mash the cat, which afterwards turns out to be a pretty horrible idea because we have the cat throw up on the train. Never fun. But we end up making it to Madarame's house, and it is kind of like not what you would expect from a famous artist. Ryuji's pretty forward in his confrontation of Yusuke, asking about the plagiarism and stuff, which Yusuke just laughs off. He does threaten us, though. Says, if you continue to ridicule the man I owe my life to, you will rue the day. And then he shows us this painting by Madarame called the Sayuri. A very beautiful painting. Later on, we find the keywords, and we get a match to the name Madarame Shack Museum. And we're transported to this very dreary, and like, An calls it gaudy. I agree there. And then we find these moving paintings inside that have the names and ages of people. Certainly a clue, given the man that we're dealing with. Morgana suggests that we find some other paintings lying around, and we run into this. painting of Yusuke Kitagawa himself. And that kind of confirms it, for me at least. So it seems that the paintings are Madarame's pupils, and then we find this giant monument to his pupils that he's plagiarizing from. Essentially saying that, you know, if they can't support Madarame, they don't have the right to live. And once again, like, Ryuji kind of pushes back on this. He's like, this is enough, but we still have to weigh our facts and stuff as Phantom Thieves together. So later on, we chat about it. An's like, if he hasn't done anything wrong lately, is it really a point to do anything? And I chime in. I'm like, we should definitely see how Yusuke feels before we move forward. That was about as unanimous as you could probably get, for the time being. Now, once again, I know that this was a bit of a weird one, given that there was no audio in the actual stream itself. My internet connection had a bit of an aneurysm, I guess. I don't know. Something happened, and I didn't check the audio channels like I should have. Next stream will be vastly different. There will actually be sound on it. But yeah, next stream will be on Sunday for Dragon Quest XI, and hopefully I can get these videos uploaded to my YouTube channel as well. If you search Downtown Coolsville on YouTube, my profile picture is the same on there as it is on Twitch. And yeah, I will see you all next time.